them on.
Friday night, we're off to the races. Come and see familiar faces. Uncle Meat, Rob Daniels, Jon Snow. Gibby's here, it's the place to go. Grab a star of rock with Mike and the Bad Metal Man. Grab a star of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Keyboard's here, it's time for a party. And Chris has got the comment started. Grab a star of rock with Mike and the Bad Metal Man. Grab a star of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Grab a star of rock. Grab a star of rock.
Hey, fellas.
Hello.
Audio check. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yes.
I can hear you guys fine. How are you doing tonight?
I am pretty excited about the proceedings tonight.
Excellent. Tim, last time we talked, I think we had an accident. Your shelving fell down.
Yeah, boy,
That was
that
the
wasn't
time
pretty.
before, I think.
That was the
Yeah.
time before. Okay, so I hope I'm not the problem and I don't jinx you here.
No, my problem is I'm stupid and I didn't have a middle bracket to brace everything.
Oh, shoot. Well, everything's fine now and minimal jewel case damage.
Need some replacement single, like CD single jewel cases.
Harrison, would you like to tell the audience tonight exactly what our special subject is this evening?
Kiss box set, I think.
Well, Harrison, a little bit. Let's get some more enthusiasm.
He did answer the question.
He did, but let's
Yes.
come on, get some energy.
You blindsided me.
I did. Okay, let's try it again. Harrison, what do you think we're looking at tonight?
Box sets.
Box sets, Kiss box sets. And to talk about that, we've got Marco Doria from the Contrarians joining us. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Great, thanks.
Good.
I don't know if you noticed, but you are the latest character to appear in our little Lego collage. The ad that I put out today, there's a bald fellow with a mustache and a sword, a saber, and that fellow would be you.
Very honored. Thank you very much. That means a lot to me.
Well, this man here is the artist. He is the master, so to speak.
Mhm.
And on that note, we always like to start each show with our favorite new feature, which is called Ask Harrison. And some of these questions about Australia, some of these questions are more about him. And tonight we have two. Shall we commence with the Ask Harrison portion of the show? You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's rock.
Hey, Harrison. How's it going? Doing a little Christmas decorating here. Hey, you know what? I was talking to Lana the other day, and she said there's something she's always been meaning to ask you, and asked if I would ask you next time I seen you. So here goes. If you could only have one album for the rest of your life to listen to, live or studio, what album would it be? I, of course, said, there is only one album if you're going to have one for the rest of your life, of course. Metal Christmas by the legendary Blaze Bayley. But, that's just my guess and just my choice. Please, give us your choice. And, as always, good seeing you. Take care. Hey, and Merry Christmas.
Great question. Give us an album, Harrison.
Are compilation albums allowed?
Sure.
Yeah, I would go with the Best of the Beast 6 LP because it's got the most songs, but it's also vinyl, which means every time I listen to it, eventually it's going to get worn down. So I'll just stick to the 2 CD version of Best of the Beast.
Great answer. You ready for question number 2?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Hi,
I'm Mike's friend from California. And Harrison, me and my 200,000 followers would like to know how you get your hair so silky smooth. It's glorious.
Over to you.
Poor lighting and a pretty poor camera too.
That's not an answer.
It's the illusion.
You have some crazy Australian shampoo.
Nope. Just
No,
regular.
fine. All right. Well, he's not giving up his secrets. That's quite clear. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Kiss. We're going to talk about the Creatures of the Night box set. I know, Marco, you have some special Kiss rarities lined up. Tim, who knows what he's going to have? He's going to pull something crazy. And Harrison, I don't know what you have either. I know you have some non-Kiss stuff as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And the Kiss thing.
Why don't I very quickly start by talking about the Beast itself, the Creatures of the Night box set. I know Tim and a lot of you like to collect the stickers, keep the stickers safe. 5 CDs plus the Blu-ray audio. The only thing I have not done yet is listen to the 5.1 mix. Otherwise, I have immersed myself thoroughly in the Creatures box set. I want to talk about it in detail tonight. I'll kind of take it apart piece by piece. But one thing I love about it is the design of the cover. It completely, beautifully matches the Destroyer box set from last year. It has the exact same matting proportions. It has like the glossy outline. It has, where is it? It has the same text on the side, the same text on the bottom. It's clearly a matching set, and I hope there's more to come. I think Tim and I were talking offline, and we both wish listed a Lick It Up box set, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe that was Snow.
If they put a Dynasty live show on a Dynasty tour, I'd grab that.
I love the way he says
You're
Dynasty.
listening, Paul Stanley?
Like the way he said Dynasty, though. Like, that's just... It's beautiful.
Sorry to interrupt you, Tim.
That's...
No, I'm hoping I'd like to see a Dynasty one. Dynasty, sorry.
Dynasty.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
thought...
remember seeing a little something that if somebody pronounces a word wrong, it's probably because they learned it by reading.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, you wouldn't believe the names. Years down the road, it's like, oh, that's how you say that.
I still say words wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway,
try to pronounce Yngwie Malmsteen without knowing how it's pronounced.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Reading it
used
off a
to.
page.
I used to pronounce it Yangwi, which I guess is kind of.
True
I used
story.
to say Injui.
True story. When I used to read news, not full time, but every once in a while I'd end up having to read the news. And this was old school broadcast news, pull it off the wire, off the printer. And I don't follow sports. I never did. And it was the year of the Lillehammer Olympics. It was 1994. And it was just rip and read. So I didn't pre-read anything. And some of the names, I know I butchered them. If a name showed up 3 times in a story, I'd say it 3 different ways.
Try reading science fiction. Anyway, I thought we would start with Marco this time and work our way counterclockwise. Let's see what Marco has. Now, Marco, you have not purchased the Kiss box set yet, right?
No, I've not purchased it. I don't have plans to purchase it.
Okay.
I've owned Creatures of the Night several different ways. I had it on cassette, and I also had the remaster CD. And I did not have it on vinyl, but I had the cassette and the remaster CD. I probably won't get the box set, although I think the box sets are super cool. And if I'd like to see one, the first album hasn't come out yet as a box set, has it?
Not yet, but
The
that's
debut?
another one that we've been
That would be
discussing.
sick.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That one, Hotter Than Hell, Dressed in, those first 3, those would be awesome to all come out on box sets like that.
Yeah.
Put them out as the originals.
The originals.
I've been saying that for years. It's never been on CD.
Yeah.
Now
With
it's your
bonus
chance.
tracks? Do you want bonus tracks? Do you not want bonus tracks?
Give me what. Yeah, sure. Sure.
I want to know. I want the Wicked Lester album. Like, maybe if they do a first album Kiss box set, the Wicked Lester album could be a bonus disc or something.
My friend.
Yeah, who would own the rights to that? Was that
who-
Warner Brothers?
I don't know.
No,
I-
it's Epic, so it'd be Sony.
I have a bootleg
Sony
CD with the
BMG.
Epic, the Epic logo. But most of those bootlegs that are in common circulation have really bad tape bleed, and they're almost unlistenably bad. But then the versions of the handful of songs that they released on the very first Kiss box set sounded pretty good, as does a lot of the stuff in this current box set.
I actually have a question for Tim.
Uh-oh.
Because I'm actually just looking through your book right now, and I'm looking at 1982, and I don't see if Creatures of the Night came out on 8-track. Do you have any information on that?
I sure do, and it sure did. But it came out retail.
Oh, gotcha.
So, it's
So
only
not
the
RCO.
RCOs.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And much to my chagrin, or we talked about words you read wrong, much to my chagrin, I do not have Creatures of the Night on 8-track. It is a hard one to find. Even harder than Lick It Up or Animalize, the two that followed. I've at least seen those on eBay. I had a chance. I may have had a chance to get Creatures on 8-track. I had a spare of Cheap Trick, the latest, and I don't buy spares because I hate mailing stuff. I hate it. I ended up with a spare, and I kept talking to this guy, and he just wouldn't. I said, fine, I traded with somebody else for another 8-track, but that's the closest I've come to having Creatures of the Night on 8-track.
You'll get there.
And
I'm
I
confident.
don't know if the non-makeup one, that would be an RCO because that came out in 85. I don't think that came out either.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's why it's not in the list, because it does exist as a retail.
Yeah, and awesome book. I just want to say that again. Tim's book, amazing. I know it's very hard to find, so now it's a collectible, which is amazing. But very cool book.
Thanks.
Always
Marco.
refer to it
I
when
sure
I'm
appreciate it. Yeah,
refer to it when I'm looking to see if an album came out on 8-track on I guess RCO cart.
Chris, Asylum, no. Animalize, yes.
And nothing after that.
And
nothing.
the originals, since you mentioned it, that was an 8-track, wasn't it, or no?
Yeah, I have it.
That's awesome.
It's on 2 tapes. Yeah,
That's amazing.
That's neat. That's
I
neat.
have the first album all the way up to the Elder. The Elder's pretty rare too.
So something like a double tape set of originals that would come probably in a cardboard outer.
The cool one to get is if you can get one in the package, because it came. These are cassettes, but the box wasn't like this. It was like this, so they were end to end.
Okay.
And yeah, Chris just started his Kiss 8-track collection.
Literally, he just got 5.
Yeah.
Including Kiss Alive, which you can kind of see over there. Anyway, sorry, Marco, why don't you continue with your turn?
Yeah, no worries. And I do want to mention that I did have Creatures on cassette, and I actually had that era on cassette. I had Killers, Elder, and Creatures all on cassette tape.
Cool.
Since I've gotten rid of a lot of the physical media stuff I had, unfortunately, so I don't own it anymore. I don't have the Killers tape was cool too, but I do have a few things to show that I still do own. Now, am I showing everything at once, or are we kind of going?
Let's go in turns. Like I want to do the box set in at least 3 rounds to cover everything.
Perfect.
So let's assume we'll at least go around 3 times, maybe more.
Okay, so I've got 4 things to show. I guess I'll start. Why don't I start with, since I watched this one just the other day. So I have a collection of Kiss bootlegs. I did an episode on Tim's Vinyl Confessions as well. So if you want to check out that episode, check out Tim's channel, where I talked a lot about my Kiss bootlegs. So I'm going to show specific video bootlegs to the Creatures era. Awesome. So the first thing I'm going to show is this. Now, these are not official releases. This was never officially released. This is it's DVD format. I purchased I color code the DVDs. I won't show you the other ones, but this is what my Creature set looks like: white, purple, pink. It's all the colors of. I kind of copy the Creatures kind of color palette set or whatever.
Marco, you are a man after my own heart.
I mean, like if you look at the disc, I didn't print any labels for any of the discs. It's just too much, right? But The sleeves, I like having them being able to see the actual the things on my wall and pull them out and stuff like this.
Again,
But,
a man after my own heart. I don't care what the disc itself looks like. I care what the display
The detail,
factor
though,
is.
that's so cool. That
Yeah.
almost looks official.
yeah, and sorry, don't mind the mess in my room. We moved here 2 months ago, and I haven't sorted out my stuff yet. I got lots of junk, but
okay.
so this is Sao Paulo, 1983. So this is when they did that famous Kiss, I guess,
Kiss Exposed
tour in Brazil, or they did a few dates, not a tour, but they did a handful of dates: Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, and they played to hundreds of thousands of people. Like the number in some interviews, I think Gene says 500,000, but I think it was more. I think the Rio de Janeiro show was more like 80 to 100,000 or something like this. But
there's an official number in the book, and if I can find it, I'll read it.
It might be over 100,000. It was a lot. When you see the sea of heads, it's incredible.
Oh yeah, it's endless.
I believe the real number is somewhere in the neighborhood of 130, 140.
Visually, it's a incredible show to see because of the audience and because of just the stage show. It's the Rio de Janeiro one, which I'll show later, is a professionally shot one. This is audience shot. So this is like, you see the stage from a distance. The quality's not the greatest. Some of the songs aren't complete. They're partial versions of the songs, but it's almost a full show. You can see the track listing on the back here. Yeah. And there is about, I think, 10 minutes or so of this actually is pro shot, even though the quality is not the greatest. There is pro shot footage from this show, but only for a couple of songs. I can't remember which songs, but and the quality even on that's not the greatest. Most of the show, if you can see this picture here, this right at the top, that's most of what the show looks like. It's on YouTube. Just YouTube it. You can find it. You basically get a whole stage shot, so you can watch the whole show, but the quality is not the greatest. And there is it's fun, interesting with some of these bootleg stuff. There's extras and stuff. So there's actually a press conference in here. It says unmasked press conference, but it's not from the Unmasked tour, and it's not the Lick It Up or when they took the makeup off of the MTV thing. It's actually a press conference in Brazil, and I guess by unmasked in quotes, what they mean is they weren't wearing the makeup, but they had scarves on.
Okay.
So it's an unmasked press conference from the Brazil show or shows.
I would still call that false advertising, but hey.
But if you don't mind audience shot stuff, I mean, it's interesting. Historically, it's interesting. It's not, the entertainment value isn't quite there for just any general fan of music, because the quality of the video is not the greatest, and the quality of the audio is not the greatest either. So, I mean, if you're a diehard Kiss fan and you love Creatures, it's worth checking out, especially for that 10 minutes of pro shot stuff. But other than that, I mean, you're mostly getting that type of video of that.
With stuff like that, Marco, it's like you got to be a diehard fan, and you got to really know the songs, right? If you play that for a casual fan, they're like, I don't even know what I'm listening to right now.
Especially when it's a partial, it's really hard for a casual fan to appreciate a partial.
And look how many songs are partially complete, right?
Yeah.
There's right at the last half, or the last third of the whole set is partial, right? So
yeah,
that's where the songs are just cutting and But it's cool. I mean, like, there's not a lot of Creatures footage out there. So to have like a whole show that's not the Rio de Janeiro show, like that's from Brazil, that's pretty cool. In itself, it's historically significant to me, or a Kiss fan.
Well, I said the word Kiss Exposed earlier because as soon as I saw, Sao Paulo, I'm thinking of that footage from the Kiss Exposed VHS way back in the 80s that Tim and I probably both bought at the same time, where they gave you I Love It Loud from one of those concerts. Remember that?
Yeah, I think that was from Rio, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it? It was Rio.
Yeah.
Okay. I just remember
there's a little bit of War Machine on Extreme Close Up.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the first thing that came to my mind as soon as I thought of that Brazil tour.
And I'll talk about Rio when it comes back to me. That's the big famous pro shot. It was on Kissology 2, I think. That's the famous one that most people have probably seen, at least most of that footage.
And incidentally, this we'll call it the Brazilian tour, or whatever you want to call it, the South American tour. There's a lot about it in the liner notes of the box set, because it was momentous, and it was also, there's a lot of drama behind the scenes, and I won't go and spoil it because it's a great story. But Yeah.
Are you talking about what happened with their equipment down there?
Yeah,
Are you going
yeah.
to get to it? Okay, I'll let you.
No,
get to it.
you know what? I'm gonna let them. They're gonna have to read it. They're gonna have to read it.
Okay.
I got a lot to talk about, so we don't need to go into the equipment unless you want to tell that
50%
story.
equipment, 50% Vinny.
Yeah. There's a lot of Vinny, a lot of chatter about. I'm getting ahead of myself.
I'd love to
not my
hear.
turn.
Like, do they have interviews with members of the band in the booklet that comes with the? Is Vinny in there? Like,
Okay, do you want me to?
I'm sorry.
You know what?
I don't want to take
You know
over
what?
your show.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead and do my turn, and then we'll go back to Tim, and who cares about counterclockwise. Okay, so the book, I have been ranting and raving about this book in a positive way ever since opening this box set. It's a beautiful 80-page hardcover book, and it is heavy. This whole box set's heavy. And the reason I've been raving about this book is because, you know, a guy like me, unless I'm buying like a Martin Popoff book, I'm not going to learn anything about Kiss. I learned a ton of stuff in here that I really, honestly, I don't think I knew before. And I'm going to tell you one of the most striking stories. Did either of you guys know? I'm sorry, Harrison. Do any of you guys know? Did you know that Richie Sambora was one of the many, many guitar players who tried out for Kiss?
I did know that.
Now, did you know the story of how his audition went down?
I read one little interview with him, and I think it was Blabbermouth a long time ago. So,
well, no. I never read that, but apparently he had a record deal that fell through with Swan Song.
That's right.
The record deal fell through, and he thought, hey, let's go audition for Kiss. So he flew out to the West Coast with a Walkman. Batteries on the Walkman ran out, and he only had the opportunity to learn one song, which was Black Diamond. So he showed up for the audition completely unprepared. He just wanted to jam, and Simmons was so pissed off that he walked out of the audition and hung out by the soda machine. True story. I did not know that before. There's tons of
years later, he's in a band opening for Kiss.
Yes, and that is mentioned as well. It goes without saying that in an 80-page book that comes with a box set, you're going to get tons of great photos. Brilliant photos. Tons and tons of interview stuff. Michael James Jackson, the producer, goes into a lot of detail about how they got that drum sound. You guys know the one I'm talking about. Heck, that's the page I'm on. The Big Beat. So, you know, the stuff that fans love talking about, the drum sound on this album, we can talk about that for hours, I'm sure. They were going for that heavy metal Zeppelin sound, and man, did they capture it. It's really a beautiful book. I've been telling people, you know, the price tag on this box set, it's not modest. I believe it's, somewhere in the neighborhood of 350 bones right now, Canadian. But I'm trying to tell people that for me, certain aspects of this are well worth the money. There's a lot of talk about Fraley and the circumstances of his leaving. A lot of talk about how he made a comment at one point that, you know, if Paul Stanley had asked me to stay in the band, I would have. And Paul Stanley says, don't you remember, Ace? I flew to your house and sat at your dinner table and asked you to reconsider. And Ace is like, oh, geez, I should have been so blackout drunk. You know, I don't remember that at all. Oh, crap. That's all in here. All the stuff about Vinny, all the issues with the solos, Paul's distaste for the replacement member makeup. For some reason, I get the feeling he really didn't like Eric Carr's Fox makeup from this. You know, he's like, oh, it's diluting the spirit of Kiss just by having another animal. I was like, I never thought of it that way. What else? Gene Simmons tells the infamous Eddie Van Halen story that Eddie Van Halen begged him to join Kiss in 1982. I don't think that story's ever been corroborated by anybody except for Gene Simmons, but, you know, for the sake of completion, it has to be in the book.
Yeah.
What else? Bryan Adams is in the book because, of course, he co-wrote 3 songs on this. And the 4th song, Don't Leave Me Lonely, which was recorded by Bryan Adams, is present in instrumental demo form in this box set too. Anyway, if I haven't sold you on the book portion of the box set yet, then I'm not doing my job properly. It is fantastic. Every relevant person is interviewed, and those that are no longer with us, like Eric Carr, are present in the form of archived interviews, including the fantastic Dale Sherman 1990, I think it was 1989 or 1990 Eric Carr interview. That's quoted extensively in here, and you guys know what a big fan I am of Dale Sherman's Kiss work, and well, all of his work for that matter.
The Alice Cooper books too.
The Alice Cooper book. I purchased his Three Stooges book for my father. I have his Mel Brooks book over there. I mean, he's fantastic. Anyway, that's the first thing I want to talk about in my first turn, was the book portion of the Kiss box set. In addition to that, we've got an envelope full of goodies and then a second envelope full of goodies, and those will be my next turns. So we'll go to Tim Durling.
Okay, so I'm going to start the story. This first part of my story is 1993. You may be wondering why 1993.
Why 1993?
1993 because that's when I got into Kiss.
Okay.
I was not a Kiss fan, emphatically not. And for a lot of reasons, mostly what I would see would be interviews on Much Music with Paul and Gene, and they would go on as if they were the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then they would play, I don't know, Lick It Up for the 100th time. I wasn't on board. And basically, here's what it was. I wasn't hearing the right songs. I don't think I was hearing the right songs, which isn't to say I was hearing a lot. But anyway, 1993 comes around, and what comes out of 1993 but something called Alive 3. And two good friends of mine, one, Matt Phillips, is the guy that designed my Unspooled book, been a friend of mine for years and years and years. He and another buddy of mine kind of teamed up and said, we're going to get this guy into Kiss. But a lot of it was listening to Alive 3 over and over again. And there were songs on Alive 3 that I always kind of liked by Kiss. Heaven's on Fire, I Love It Loud, Forever. And then there were songs that I'd never heard before, like Watching You, that I really, really liked. And
That's a good version.
I like the songs off of Revenge, too. I remember thinking that when Revenge came out, that this is going to sound really funny. Okay, they don't look stupid anymore. Because I thought they looked ridiculous in the 80s. And they did. Let's face it. But when Revenge came out, that was a cool look. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm not going to buy it, but okay. But anyway, I kept hearing Alive 3. And it's like, you know what? Maybe it's time that I explored this whole Kiss phenomenon. Crazy time to get into a band like that. 1993, right? But I've never been one to jump on trends. I'm really glad I got into them before they reunited. I thought that was kind of a cool thing. So anyway, early on, so I got Destroyer, Unmasked. I bought like a couple CDs here and there as I found them. Fairly early on in this little odyssey, no pun intended. And this is going to sound super old. Matt and I walked to a local video store in my hometown and rented. It had probably been sitting on the shelf for eons, probably dust upon dust. The Animalized, live, uncensored concert video. Okay. And listen, when you look back at it now, yeah, they looked ridiculous and they played the songs 100 miles an hour. But musical cues, Marco's gotten used to this because we got the trivia thing coming up. But I heard this riff. Excuse me.
He's got a bass. He's got a bass.
I've got a little ukulele bass, yes. And I heard
That's War Machine.
Anyway, and it went on from there. And I said to Matt, what is this song? What is this? I need this song in my life. This is what's been missing. And he said, well, it's War Machine. And I said, what album is it from? And he said, Creatures of the Night, I think. Pre-internet, kids. This is pre-internet. And it's not like Matt had a full collection of Kiss. You know what I mean? Like, it's all, what, kids just at a high school can afford, right? So it wasn't too long after that, we had a field trip. Went to a radio station in Moncton. And part of the trip, of course, we went to the mall. And I bought this cassette with this stupid cover on it. Because at the time, in 1993, this is all you could get. This is all you could get for Creatures of the Night. And somehow I had seen the original cover, but you couldn't find it. Like, it was unknown.
Now, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the same cassette I had. And if I remember correctly, that actually has the original mix of Creatures of the Night and not the 85 remix on the actual tape, if I remember correctly.
Now, that I'm not sure of, but I will say that the songs are in the right order, which is to say
that's for sure.
Saint, Sinner, and Killer are not mixed up. But I've always been, like, from getting into Kiss at that time up to this very day. Marco mentioned the second Kissology. That's my favorite because I've always been really, really interested in the period between 1980 and 1983. Yeah, to me, that is such an interesting period in Kiss's career. Those 4 years, everything that happened in those 4 years, Peter Criss out, Eric Carr in, the big Australian tour, the Elder, Ace out, Vinny in, taking off the makeup. In the middle of all that, a steady album per year.
Yeah.
And 4 completely different sounding albums to each other. I've always been really, really intrigued with that. The Fridays footage, doing the Elder stuff.
Yeah.
The Brazil footage, that huge crowd where they couldn't play huge crowds in their own home country, how badly the Creatures tour tanked in the States, all of that stuff. So that became like a grail for me, finding the original album. But at the time, it didn't matter so much because I listened to that cassette and it quickly became my favorite Kiss album.
Mm-hmm.
As odd as it sounds, tied with Dynasty. I've never been able to pick a favorite between those two because I love them both for completely different reasons. But man, at Creatures of the Night is a Kiss album. I have found that people that don't necessarily like Kiss, but they like 80s hard rock and metal, will generally listen to that album and go, that's pretty good. You don't necessarily have to be a diehard Kiss fan to like this album if you like 80s heavy rock.
100%.
Yeah.
Actually,
so I've always been kind of enchanted with the album, and that's kind of where we're going to end this segment. This is the 1993 segment of this. So.
Okay. You know what? Would this be a good time to play Uncle Meat's contribution to tonight's show?
I think
I know you did want to mention. I
have a rebuttal. To Uncle Meat.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly read his Creatures review. I'm going to read an excerpt from it because it's actually a quite extensive review. But this is what you took objection to, and I'm also going to play a video that Meat contributed tonight about seeing the Creatures tour. But here's the excerpt that you took exception to.
I took umbrage to.
You took umbrage to.
That's a big word like gymnasium.
Right. Creatures of the Night is not genuine to me. Most of the album sounds like the inspiration for Spinal Tap's album Smell the Glove, especially the song Heavy Duty. And not surprisingly, it was released not long after this in 1984. So, to end this slice, I will refer to the immortal Derek Smalls and put it like this. Creatures of the Night is a disingenuous collection of head-banging bullshit that to me is forgettable. It sounds square, clunky, and has way too many forgettable songs on it. I would rather listen to Bryan Adams' 1983 album Cuts Like a Knife, but Kiss, I Still Love You. You got to admit the man has a way with words.
A powerful and attractive man.
Yes, yes. Do you want to rebut that, or do you want me to jump on to the video?
Want to rebut that. And
okay,
listen,
and then we'll play the Meat video.
We all hear things differently. We all come into the band at different times. I would have been 8, 9 years old at that point. Yep. For me, though, Creatures of the Night is a kick-ass rock album that has brought me hours and hours of joy. And so I don't take it personally, but it did kind of rub me the wrong way, the head-banging bullshit part. And my reaction was, this is all in good fun, but my reaction was, I know where that review came from. This puts the butt in rebuttal.
Well played.
Okay, in case anybody's wondering, what am I holding up?
That's Gene Simmons' arse,
it's
actually.
The vinyl. Is it Gene?
It's Gene Simmons' arse.
Oh, great. This is the vinyl version of the non-makeup Creatures of the Night. None too easy to find. This is a Canadian version of it. So, yeah, I was spared that on the cassette, but when I used to have the CD, it was like, what the?
That's-
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, when you say
Anyway,
that's Gene
just-
Simmons'
just-
ass, don't you mean that's just Gene Simmons?
Oh!
Every once in a while, Harrison
Woo!
knocks one out of the park.
Well, think about what his solo album was called. He knows.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
yeah, Uncle Meat, that was great. That was I respect everybody's opinion. I love this album, so I had to put that in, and I was like, I know what I'm gonna do.
well, let me play you what he had to say about seeing the Creatures tour. And unfortunately, this is a vertical video, so we're all going to be like half of us are going to be, yeah.
Hello, the Brain Train people. I wish I could be there for this Creature show. Plans change, and I'm going to be up in Tobermory for a music weekend, and that's going to be fun. But, hello, Harrison, LeBrain, Marco, and Tim Durling, who Mike had said that Tim wanted some sort of analysis or description of the Creatures of the Night show. And as you know, it's 40 years ago, I think March of 1983. We had good seats. My buddy Scott Hunter, who's a Kiss crazy man, his uncle worked for CPI Tickets, and we had like pretty good seats, about a quarter of the way up the stage, up on the side, in what were the golds at Maple Leaf Gardens. It was my fourth show overall. My first three were Kitchener shows, but pretty good shows. First show was the Monks. You know, drugs in my pocket, but I don't know what to do with them. But I mean, now I know what to do with them. Second show was Black Sabbath Mob Rules Tour, and third show was Triumph Allied Forces Tour. So pretty good start. My fourth show, first Toronto show, was Creatures of the Night. And I remember they played my favorite Kiss song at the time, which was I Want You. I remember that there was these fire things that went up in the air, and they were so hot from where we were, and just thinking, holy cow, like how hot are the people in the front row, like just crazy. And yeah, it's really hard to remember other things about the show because it was so long ago. My very next show, my fifth ever show, was Kiss as well, Maple Leaf Gardens for the Lick It Up tour. I also do remember that the Creatures of the Night tour, the opening band were the Headpins. You know, Darby Mills, "Know to Make You Feel Like Dancing." So yeah, there's not much more I really remember. I wish I could remember more. Big one. We were too close. We weren't close enough to realize that it wasn't Spaceman makeup, that it was Anka makeup, or whatever you want to call it. For years, we both thought we had seen Ace Frehley live, and no, we didn't. We saw Vinnie Vincent live, and yeah. So that's about all I can really tell you. There's not much more to say. Obviously was a very important show for me, being my first Maple Leaf Garden show of many after that. And saw a lot of shows with Scott Hunter in the next couple years, like Motley Crue, Night Ranger, Iron Maiden, all in '84. So that's about all I can tell you. And I hope you guys are enjoying reminiscing about the Creatures of the Night. You know, I don't love the album. I don't dislike it. I just don't love it. If it comes on, I'm going to enjoy the album. But I hope you guys are enjoying it all. And, yeah. Peace. You're all war machines. Rock.
Thank you, Meat Man. There you go. That's the best he can remember after 40 years.
For some reason, when you play a video, I can't hear it.
Oh, no. Marco, were you
I'll-
able to hear
I'll-
that?
I'll watch it later. So if I didn't show
Okay.
much expression, it's because I couldn't hear it.
Okay, well, he did directly address you.
You should have just gone like,
times.
Oh, okay.
at like random moments.
Well, it says tap for sound, but I'm afraid that would screw up the video, so I didn't.
Okay. Try it next time.
Okay.
All right, Harrison, we finally come to the Lego Prodigy.
Yep. I'm going to be a boring person today for this first bit. I just have some CDs, new CDs, the usual stack of rock.
This is not the Kiss related stuff. This
no.
Okay.
This first one, it was cheap, so I got it. It's this album. I think it's called Hysteria.
Oh, you finally got it.
Rings a bell.
Tim, ours don't have a clear spine in Canada.
No, they do not. That's a remaster. That's UMC. That's a remastered one.
The funny thing, this is just your bog standard single disc edition, but the disc still has printed on it disc 1.
Cool.
And
original
that is the
album.
Oh, so literally they took disc 1 from the deluxe.
Oh, that is odd.
That is odd.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. No bonus tracks.
No, nothing of the sort, but why not?
Interesting.
Yeah. I thought, this next one, I thought after, 20 odd years or something of hearing it on the radio and music videos and all that, I should probably get a physical copy of Bring Me to Life. So I got the live album.
I was never a fan myself, but that's pretty cool.
Spine.
Very nice.
Well, the Spine. No track list, which is interesting, especially considering it's a live album. And then
very nice artwork. Very typo negative with the green.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Now, 2001 was easily my favorite year in Deep Purple history of all of them. I've already shown off the Newcastle show where Jimmy Barnes guested that horn section and female singer. But just recently, Michael know this one. This one, Tokyo 2001 with Ronnie James Dio was released.
Fabulous. They did Fever Dreams from Magica.
Yeah, and they did Rainbow in the Dark, which is my favorite version of Rainbow in the Dark.
It's kind of neat to hear Ian Pace playing drums on Dio songs, because he's got a completely different kind of style from Vinny Appice.
Yeah, I really like John Lord's keyboards as well.
That too.
And they play the concerto as well, which isn't my favorite thing Deep Purple has ever done, but it's neat to have. Love Is All as well makes an appearance.
Fantastic version. Yeah.
You know what, that song, I saw that. I remember I saw that video. Somebody talked about it, that animated video. And for some reason, I swear I've seen that before. And I don't know if they played it on the Electric Company, like way, way, way back on PBS, but I've seen that before. Anyway, that's good.
Interesting. Harrison, what's the deal with you and Hysteria? Chris P wants to know why you've never owned it before.
I never really heard any Def Leppard by 1 or 2 radio songs until
Jon Snow and I walked into your life.
2020. It was after I met you guys, but yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I got a couple more. I'll just do all of it in one go, and then I'll save the other big items. So keeping on the slipcases and actually doing something on brand.
Nice. That is a great album.
The rest of them, but yeah, really good. Yeah, the way I looked at it, I looked at the track list. I'm like, that's a lot of stuff from Double Platinum. I'll get that because I also have Double Platinum.
That's a great CD.
And then this last one for this first round is very recent release. There's the new deluxe edition of Iron Fist. Now on disc 1 you get the original album plus demos, and on disc 2 you get a live album recorded Glasgow 1982. And one of my favorite things about this live show is the version of Motorhead. Lemmy basically messes up the lyrics. He scats, or in his case, his scatting is more like growling. He basically growls unintelligibly the entire first verse, and then when it comes time for the first chorus, he's just like, Motorhead, forgot the words to Motorhead.
Lemmy.
It's hilarious.
Brilliant. That's cool. Those Motorhead deluxes are great, by the way.
Yeah.
For those who don't know.
Funny. The slipcase has sucked, but it is what it is. So.
There you go.
So that's all for round 1. For round 2,
all right,
something else.
All right. Well, I'm going to grab a stack of Kiss goodies.
Guys, I am parched. I got to get some water. I'll be right back.
Well, you know what? We're about the halfway point. Why don't we take a quick song break? I wanted to do that at the halfway point. Why don't we do that? Take a quick song break. We'll do a 4-minute song. This is Overload by Max the Axe. We'll see you in 4 minutes. Max the Axe in costume tonight with red hat.
He's kind of a big deal.
Hey, fellas, do you see anything wrong with this KISS logo?
I can barely see it.
It's upside down.
The S's are. The K... No, the K is too.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of a mix-up there, eh? They kind of screwed this up on the envelope for the, some of the goodies inside, which I'm going to go into next. This is a nice little package. There's only a handful of things inside, but one of them is really special. So first of all, you get these 4 portraits. Let's just do the solo layout thing. So there's your boy Vinny, the Onk Warrior. A makeup design I never quite understood. The Fox, Eric, which I know, Marco, you're a fan, I believe. Have I got that right?
Of Eric Carr?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, you know what? I got you confused. I have another Marco buddy, Marco Fox. He's also a huge Marco fan, which is no surprise since Marco's the Fox. I apologize for mixing you two Marcos up. I always like
probably my favorite makeup design.
You know, and like I said earlier, Paul Stanley seems a little down on this makeup design in the book. That's a great portrait. Look at that. I love how you can see the lines around Gene's eyes there. Fantastic portrait. Looks a lot like the I Love It Loud video.
Yeah.
And finally, the Star Child, pouty Star Child. He mentions quite a few times in the book that they were just kind of growing their hair back, and you can kind of see that Paul's hair isn't quite as long as you're used to seeing. Also, Paul's got a red aura here, which I don't think is usually the case, is it? Is his usually?
I think
red?
they all had a red aura. On these.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, they all do. Yeah. Anyway, so you get those, but also this was kind of like this added bonus, and I was like, oh, what is this? It's like a thick as a brick kind of newspaper, right? Well, it's actually, this is specific liner notes to all of the like previously unreleased tracks. So there's a ton of information in this little newspapery thing, which I hate newspapery things. They're impossible to keep nice. But anyway, if I open it up here, we can kind of see they go track by track on a lot of these rarities. So you see there's, I hate this.
I can see there's like some recording studio.
Yeah, notations there. They're talking about specifically well, there we go. I'm sorry, there's something there about the track Creatures of the Night, but I don't know why. I guess they go through the album. Sorry, I mixed myself up. They go through the album tracks and all the unreleased tracks. There, I'm getting myself mixed up. But then they go through the killer stuff, the rarities and outtakes. And the rarities and outtakes are astounding on this box set. I am so happy with them. There's a version of Not for the Innocent from Lick It Up, sung as a duet between Paul and Gene. Paul singing the choruses. Yeah. Tim's a little shocked there. There's Deadly Weapons, a couple different versions of Deadly Weapons, which, these are songs that have circulated in the bootleg family for a while. What's the other one? Feels Like Heaven.
Did Peter Criss record that?
Yes, he did. It's on Let Me Rock You. And you guys are probably familiar with the very, very, very X-rated tag at the end of Feels Like Heaven. Are you guys familiar with that? I'm not going to say the words. Gene Simmons says something absolutely filthy at the end of the demo that's in common circulation. Very filthy. I will not repeat it, but it is not in the box set. It's either they used a different take of the song or they just decided that doesn't need to be immortalized in history.
It's Not for the Innocent.
It's, Tim, you're very punny. What else? In terms of unreleased, there's stuff like Legends Never Die, which was a Wendy O. Williams track. The original version of It's My Life, not the re-recorded version that they did for the Psycho Circus album and ultimately didn't make the cut. So Gene sings on this original one. There's a few instrumental demos. I mentioned Don't Leave Me Lonely, which was ultimately recorded by Bryan Adams, but co-written by Eric Carr. This could possibly be the Eric Carr instrumental because, he did play guitar. So this could be all Eric, for all I know, on this demo. It's instrumental and very, very bare bones compared to what Bryan later released on Cuts Like a Knife. What else? There was a song that I always associated with The Elder, actually. I always thought it was an Elder demo, but maybe it was a Creatures demo, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's in here as well. And just in terms of unreleased material, there's multiple takes and multiple mixes of different things. There's only one track included from the 85 mix, which is, I believe, Creatures of the Night itself. But I believe 3 tracks were remixed for the 85 release. There's the concert, that's included, and it's compiled from several concerts like Houston and whatnot. And I was talking to Marco earlier this week, and we're talking about epic versions of I Still Love You. And I told Marco that I think this might be the most epic, vocally anyway, version of I Still Love You that I've ever heard. And I also was quite fond of the way Paul belted out Strutter. No complaints about the live set at all. I've been reading nothing but rave reviews about it online. Everybody seems really happy with this box set, and I'm sure that that's the impression you're getting from me. There's a 2 CD version available too, but you don't get nearly as much stuff, obviously, and you only get a kind of like a smattering of these unreleased tracks. Well, I would say if you're a Kiss fan, you absolutely need the box set version. You're going to want the entire concert. You are going to want Not for the Innocent. You are going to want all of these tracks. As to the sound, the remastering, I'm not an audiophile, and I don't like to speak to things like that. You know, these days, the majority of my music is being listened to on MP3, so I'm probably not qualified to discuss about sound quality. But this is, if you're not getting the picture, a purchase I'm very happy with. And then next time around, I'll show you the assorted goodies that came in the other envelope. But that's it for me now, and we'll go to Marco.
Cool. I like that newspaper.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to get it back into the envelope as you start talking.
Well, what's interesting is I want to bring this up because I actually just saw a clip from the Kiss Cruise, and I think it was Sebastian Bach from Skid Row who actually asked the question to Paul Stanley directly. It was like a Q&A with Paul Stanley about some of the Kiss footage leaks that have come out this past year. And he directly asked Paul if there was any footage that they own that still hasn't been seen or ever circulated. And Paul said that there was, but that they didn't plan on releasing it because they couldn't figure out how to wait. Like they thought physical stuff was like passe, and they couldn't figure out a way to monetize it with streaming services and stuff like this. So it's when I see like this Creatures box set, I think, like, why can't one of the discs be a DVD? Like, they still put out physical stuff, like the On the Soundboard stuff, and like there's still physical stuff being produced. Like, why not if they have more Creatures footage, why not? That's never been seen. Why not throw it on an extra DVD or something as part of the compilation? So it's a little disappointing to hear that they have footage that's never been seen, but they don't plan on releasing it because they don't know how to monetize it.
They always say that. They will.
You know, these guys have kids, and those kids are going to need a steady stream of income when, we don't want to talk about when people are gone, but people are eventually going to be gone. And that's when this stuff tends to be released, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
But let's not talk about that.
but some footage that has been released that was on Kissology was the Rio show. So I'll go with the next Brazil show. This actually took place before the Sao Paulo show, actually a full week before. This says June 18, and this Sao Paulo is June 25th. So it's a full week before. This was at this show, and I love the cover because it's got Vinny there instead of Ace, and just the color is cool. This is the back of it, so there's a set list there. Now, they did partially release this show on Kissology, but it's not complete. This version is not complete either, but it does have, I think, 1 or 2 more tracks than the Kissology version. I don't think God of Thunder is on the Kissology version. There might be another song here. And I think what happens sometimes with circulated bootlegs like this is sometimes things get recirculated when new footage pops up. There might actually even be another song or so that's not listed here, because I don't reprint the labels. Like, if this was circulated and that was the track listing that was on the version that I had, and a new version comes along that has maybe better sound quality, because there's a lot of fans who actually remaster and remix and keep working on the footage to make it as best. Like, some of these bootlegs I have are actually better quality than the Kissology stuff, believe it or not, because it's worked on. I've heard
that before. I've heard that said before.
So I think that I actually like, if a new version gets recirculated, I'll reburn the disc, but I won't reprint the label. So I don't know if this is the most, for some reason, I feel like this is not the most up-to-date label of or at least sleeve of the Rio show. That's a bootleg that circulated. So there might actually be another song. But I know that there's a lot of footage on this that's not on the Kissology. Like I think there's footage of them arriving in the plane, and there's some like interview stuff and some news segments and stuff like this. But this is the Pro Shot Creature stuff. This is like the only circulated Pro Shot Creature show. It's not complete, but there's several songs there, and the quality is really good. This is the one with that huge audience, and this is one of my favorite Kiss shows to watch.
So that's the one with the Kiss exposed I Love It Loud, then. That's the one.
Yeah, probably. And it's the only Pro Shot stuff with Vinny that's circulated as well. There is a Lick It Up show from Spain, and the quality is not the greatest on that. But it's multi-camera and stuff like this.
Is that got a couple of songs? Is that the one that there's like Detroit Rock City and there's a couple songs on Kissology too, I think, from that. From their very first show. I think it's Spain. It's the very first show to Lick It Up tour. It's Detroit Rock City and one other song. And it's really
it's Easter egg, right? You have to find it? The clip?
Yeah. I think so.
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know if that's the same show that I'm talking about. I have it on DVD, but it's from the Lick It Up tour. So I don't have it to show here.
Fair enough.
But yeah, you might be right. I think there is like the first unmasked show they did. I think there's some footage of like a song, and I think it's on Kissology, and I think it's an Easter egg. Like you have to find it in the DVD menus and stuff, which is cool. And some of these bootlegs actually have stuff like that too, which is really cool.
Really?
But yeah, so that's my next one. Is the Rio show, which again you can find this stuff on YouTube. It's not that hard to find. If you have Kissology, it's partially on there, even less than this, and this is still a partial show.
So I wanted to ask you about that. So you're saying that at one point this was available with, say, let's just say 8 of the songs. So you would have burned that to a DVD, and then another version leaked, and there's like 10 songs in that version, or 12, or whatever. Is that common that a Kiss show exists and then more songs are dug up? Is that common?
Well, it's common that there's quite a few shows on the Kissology sets that are incomplete, that you can find the bootleg that are complete or as close to to being complete than the Kissology versions themselves.
I see. Okay, gotcha.
But there are cases where these shows, if you follow like the bootlegs and stuff like this, the video bootlegs, they get recirculated constantly with new like audio touch-ups and new video touch-ups. They're constantly being re-released and recirculated. So there are shows. This is one of them where I think some of this footage was actually dug up from a Brazilian TV special broadcast mixed with the Kissology version. So they kind of combined different sources and were able to come up with a more complete show than the Kissology version.
It's a composite.
If that makes sense.
It makes total sense, yeah.
So that happened. So initially I might have burned this, and it was an actual improvement of the Kissology version. And then later on, the Brazilian footage came out, and then it was remixed together, and then I would have reburned it. You know what I mean? So sometimes they get recirculated like that. But that's the Brazil show.
That is fascinating to me, how stuff years old and then it resurfaces. Like for years, it was always said there was no Pro Shot footage from the Asylum tour. Well, now we know there was.
Yeah.
And that never made sense to me because like this is 1985. There's got to be something.
Yes.
Yeah, the only thing we had up until that leak, which I think is still not a full show. I think it's like 45 minutes or something of a show.
Yeah.
The one that you're talking about, Tim. Before that,
they do Won't Get Fooled Again.
Right, they did that on that tour.
Yeah. So before that, the only Asylum footage that was Pro Shot, I think, was local news station footage of like I think 1 or 2 songs.
Usually that.
But it was
the
one
case,
one handheld, one shoulder mount camera from like the front row. So it wasn't multi-angle and stuff like this. But I think that was the only Asylum stuff up until the stuff Tim's talking about, which blew a lot of Kiss fans' minds when that came out, because that, there was Pro Shot stuff from practically every tour except that. And Lick It Up, actually. There's just that Spain show that I talked about. But that quality of that Spain show is not the greatest. But you can find that on YouTube.
All right. Well, Tim, why don't we throw it to you next?
Well, I'm going to make my way through the 90s. It just so happens that for the next 4-year span, I found something pretty significant pertaining to Creatures of the Night each year. 1994, I think this was sent to me. It's just the 45.
Oh, it's a picture sleeve. Yeah.
Of I Love It Loud with Danger on the other side. I love that picture there. Pretty sure there was a poster with that on it. This is a Canadian single, and this is what it looks like.
Oh, that's a nice label.
Yeah. But the first real significant thing, and I was really excited to find this, 1995. I just found this used in the store in Fredericton.
Nice. There it is.
Yeah. The actual. And so what's funny is that you put this next to the 85.
Same fonts and everything.
Yeah. So the Casablanca and then Mercury, but the backs of them look pretty much. Whoops. There we go. Look pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
The innards look pretty much the same. Of course, the tape itself is a. But so there was that. Then the most unlikely thing, 1996, tiny little, not even a pawn shop. It was a trading post, way on the outskirts. Well, not too far from here. Actually, it's near all the lake. We're near a lot of lakes here. 75 cents. I found this.
Nice.
Trouble is, the guy that runs this place or ran this place wrote the prices on.
I see that. I see it.
But I had it. It was mine.
There it is.
Yeah, and what the if anybody's curious what the original record looked like, and the 85 pretty much reprints this the same too.
Yeah.
And this is what the original record label looked like.
Yes.
Now there is a reissue of this, not the Mercury one. There's a Casablanca reissue of this that has the regular Casablanca logo.
That's a cool version of the Kiss logo.
I love
that.
I
like how they did that. Yeah. So yeah, and then of course 1997 the remasters, and one of the first things I made a beeline and bought this.
Yes.
So yeah.
That's the
liner
CD I
notes
had.
by Robert V. Conti did the liner notes for the entire series.
Who?
I also have a book that Robert wrote not the forward to, but he wrote the epilogue to. Awesome book called The Art of Atari.
I own that book.
Yeah, like then it's an awesome book.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've talked about Atari before.
Yeah. So that's about all I've got for this go round.
I just wanted to comment on one thing. The Creatures vinyl. I'm not going to go and grab my copies, but I have 2 copies on vinyl. I have a 1993-ish sealed glow-in-the-dark vinyl, and then I have the same one that you have there, which I remember buying in Port Elgin, Ontario, at a really weird used record store that was probably actually a pot, kind of a front for a pot shop. But anyway, neither here nor there. It was really shady. The guy there, he had Creatures of the Night with the makeup cover, and I wanted that. So, I ponied up the, whatever it was, $10, $15, whatever it was, which was expensive for a record at the time.
Seemed like a lot at the time.
Right. It was expensive for a record at the time. And my dad says, how come this one's so expensive? And the guy goes, oh, it's because one of the guys in the band died. I'm like,
oh,
that, and I was just like, just shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. That has nothing to.
There used to be an urban legend about why they redid the cover to Creatures of the Night, because I always heard that their eyes were glowing and it was evil, and this was 85, the year of the PMRC.
I highly doubt that. That's addressed in the book.
Look, that's complete and utter crap, but that's one thing that I used to hear. Man, pre-internet, it was the Wild West.
Incidentally, the glowing eyes is touched upon in the book as well, because they had to, in the music video, I guess they had to put like these kind of glow in the dark eyes over their eyes. And Eric Carr was so unhappy with his, because they're actually like more down to here. And if you look, there's a photo in there. Yeah, Eric Carr looks completely mangled in that photo. Poor guy.
Quick bit of trivia. Do you know who the dad is in that video?
Howard Marks, I believe. It's brought up in the.
Right.
I just read. You can tell that I just read the book, by the way.
Yeah.
And incidentally, for those who are wondering, it took me about the same amount of time to read the book as it did to listen to the entire box set. So that was fortuitous. Yeah. You got anything else, or should we throw it to Harrison?
That's all I've got.
Harrison.
All right,
You're
just to
up, my friend.
quickly rewind, I have to thank Robert Lawson for alerting me to that.
Ah, good friend of the show, Robert Lawson. Yes.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this next one. I don't want to, one, dilute the current discussion, and two, it's big enough for a whole show dedicated to itself. But
oh, yeah, the Mythology box. Is that what it's called? No, it's called 50 Heavy Metal Years. 50 Heavy Metal Years, yes.
Emphasis on heavy.
Yeah, it is. Marco, if you remember, I showed that off a bit
that
on when we did that Contrarians episode on Rock and Roll. I showed that off a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a very limited edition.
Yeah, 3,000. I got 289, despite the fact that I bought it just a week or two ago.
And for those who don't know, that box set contains how many exclusive live albums?
I'm not sure exactly how many. It has 42 discs. Let's see, 18 studio albums plus
double lives,
7 live albums. So
That's
23.
incredible.
Let's say at least about 20 discs of exclusive live stuff. I'd say.
And the Ram It Down 88 show, I know you're quite fond of.
Yes, very much. But I'm going to grab a smaller box set just for now. There is a Kiss connection.
Okay. That Priest box set is not cheap dice either. I mean, that is expensive.
No, but when you do the math, the price per disc is
it actually does
reasonable.
kind of, and considering what you get in there.
Yeah, especially when you count a book, the
heavy metal, stuff. There's like a heavy metal razor blade in there that's like really a quarter-inch thick,
Yeah. But this is a recent release from this year.
Nice.
It's got 5 live albums.
Wow.
Some of them are. It's also. There was a sticker on the shrink wrap which advertised 8-page booklet as one of the selling points. But you have, in chronological order of recording, I believe, the original Slayed Alive, and the inspiration for Kiss Alive's name, I believe. This one's at the time it was very historic and monumental, but since it's been superseded by all the other Slayed Live releases out there. Then you have, I think that's 81. So I'm not sure. Live at the Hucknall Miners Welfare Club from 1980. This is previously unreleased. A lot of tracks.
That's nice. I love the way that the ink in the front is smeared.
Yeah.
I love that.
You've got Alive at Reading, which was previously an EP, but now it's the full show. This was the performance that reignited their career. They filled in after Ozzy didn't do it for some reason.
Love his hat.
Oh, yeah, the mirrored hat.
Love it.
That's a good one. Slade on Stage is previously released, but it's a really good one. It's from the 1981 tour, which is from the Till Death Do Us Part album, which is my favorite Slade album. So that's a really good live album. And then from, I think, let me see if it's got a date here. No, but from the tour for the In Flames, so I think about 75 or 76, live at the New Victoria. This is probably the best quality, and the best of the new stuff. So they play a lot of songs from that, from the In Flame movie, including How Does It Feel, which you'd know, Mike, from Def Leppard's cover.
That's true. Indeed. From the bonus tracks, I believe. I don't think it made the main track listing, but I might be wrong on that. I'm sure Chris Preston would know.
Lots of pictures in there. So that's really cool for Slade fans.
Yeah.
Like myself. 5
live albums with a ton of unreleased. Would you say about 30 to 40% of that's unreleased? Overall?
60%.
60%.
About 55%, because we did get a few Reading tracks.
Nice. Okay, well, I'm going to go into the end of the box set here. So pulling out all the stuff. Here are the 5 discs in 4 packages. So there's Creatures itself, standard Creatures, no bonus tracks, nothing of that nature. There's the lyrics, very similar to the vinyl that Tim showed us earlier. Next disc in the series here is the 2 CD previously unreleased bonus tracks, demos, rarities, and outtakes. Very, very nice. You can see the track listing for yourself there. Betrayed is not the same song that made it onto Hot in the Shade, incidentally. And we have the Creatures Tour, which again is a compilation of a variety of shows. But it all sounds, more or less seamless. And there's a great representation of tracks. And then finally, we have the DVD with the 5.1 mix. And this, if you own the Destroyer box set, this is very similar in design to the 5.1 disc in the Destroyer box set. Again, this is the only thing I haven't listened to. I really want to do that. It's not for everybody, obviously. Not everybody has a 5.1 setup. But if you do, I believe, if I remember correctly, Destroyer was quite good in 5.1. Next, we have the Kiss Creatures of the Night patch. The 4 Kiss Creatures of the Night buttons. We can't really see them that clearly with the amount of glare, but there's a Vinny button. And 5 Kiss Creatures of the Night glow-in-the-dark guitar picks. 1 for Ace, 1 for Vinny. And all the rest of the paper goodies. God, there's so much. There's the Reproduction Anniversary Tour book. That's the famous picture, I think, of them with Vinny, if I remember correctly. That's the one that you used to see most frequently. Although, when I was a young fella, pictures of Vinny were very scarce in makeup. So, standard tour book, just downsized for the box set. And then we have this envelope full of goodies, and mine came creased, and I believe someone else I know had the exact same crease. You open this up like so, and there's tons of stuff inside to show you. On this side, we have a couple of posters, which I hate. I don't like unfolding things and refolding things, and I'm never going to mount these on my wall, not for the amount of money that I paid for them. But a couple of posters. What you do with your posters, that's up to you. I'm not going to destroy. Hey, Tim, didn't you say this is a poster? There you go. There's the poster.
Yeah, that's the little bit on the back of the single here. The cool shot.
A lot of detail in the book has gone into designing the Kiss stage, and there's one possible design for it that never came to be, but looks, they were going for something there. There's the armor plating and a very kind of militaristic look, which ultimately manifested in the form of that tank. Here is another horizontal poster. I'm not familiar with this photo. I don't think I've ever seen it before. Then we have this booklet here, which I believe is the press release, a reproduction, and it's got an actual physical staple in the corner. Just open it to a sample page here. So your typical kind of quotes that you want in your press releases. When Kiss hits the road at the end of the year for a 6-month, 100-city tour of the United States, it will be the nation's first look at drummer Eric Carr. Which I don't believe that's 100% true. I believe he played
one show.
Yeah. And then there's this, which I believe this is all Gene's notes and Gene's designs. It definitely looks like his style, designing the lighting trusses. He was very hands-on with the design aspects of Kiss's live show. So that's the stuff that was on the left side of this folder. On the right side of the folder, we have some backstage pass action here. Oops. That was a Kiss Creatures of the Night postcard. There it is. Creatures of the Night postcard. Nothing on the back, though. Some stickers. If I was a young fella, I'm sure this would have made it onto my stereo, but I will not, again, destroy the value of the sticker. Then we have these portrait cards back when Ace was still, the front that Ace was still in the band. You can really see the hair needed to grow back.
That's like the Killers.
Yeah.
Center.
Yeah.
Eric and all of his zippers.
And sort of like the pink background.
Yeah.
And we have some more.
Mike, you may remember this. Like a few years ago, I remember reading something where Tommy Thayer had said they had attempted to put a Creatures of the Night box set together, but it fell through.
Well,
they couldn't find enough stuff. So when this came to light, I remember thinking, but I don't care because I'm happy because it's coming out. But yeah, it wasn't going to happen, or they said it wasn't going to happen, unless that was a long, elaborate ruse on their part.
Looks like we may have sold a Kiss box set, according to Chris Preston's comments there. More. There's just so much. Like, I don't know what you're going to do with this stuff. Is somebody going to take all of this stuff and make like an entire wall of Creatures art in their home? I don't want to get too much off track and onto a rant, but I kind of resent paying so much for stuff that's going to stay in a box, Is
that a picture disc?
It's not. It's like a clear. Maybe it's you put it in your window or something, but it's kind of.
It's a window cling.
Maybe.
Is that maybe for T-shirts, like T-shirt screens, whatever?
Maybe.
So
I know what you mean, though. It's like there's a lot of stuff, but what are you going to do with most of it?
The description on the back here, incidentally, does not help. They obviously put on the wrong sticker because it says set of 4 round. You can't read it. Set of 4 round buttons. Hey, let's look at the round buttons and see if they have the other sticker.
Mike, that just made me think of something, like between the silk screening and all that talk about what it is. Do you know what I mean by Presto Magics?
No, well, I probably do, but refresh my memory.
You'd get a set, it would have a background on it, and then you'd have all these characters vehicles, and you'd take a pencil and I used to love those. Slowly peel it back. And
you used to get them on cereal boxes.
Yeah.
I loved those, yeah.
I had a Return of the Jedi one, I think.
I'm certain I must have.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is by and large the entire box set. There's really nothing else to talk about. Oh, this isn't a postcard story. Sorry, I just realized it's a sticker. That's about it. That's the complete contents. Anybody wants to ask any questions, you just go right ahead. But that's all I got. We're at the 8:22 mark. Do we want to do? Anybody got anything else to show off to finish?
Marco's got 2 more.
Marco's got some more stuff, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple more, so I'll just show them off real quick. Then I guess for us Canadians here, some more rare Creatures footage. This was actually shot in Montreal, and there's a famous story about this. A couple of guys from Quebec who actually had a video camera and would sneak it in, and they filmed a few shows of this era of 83, 84, 85, and I think they also filmed a Lick It Up show in Quebec, and they filmed. I think a Bon Jovi show, and I think a Motley Crue show, and I think a Van Halen show. They were actually famous bootleggers, and they would sneak a camera in, and they would sit. There was like a restaurant that was attached to the venue, and there was a big window that you could actually see the performers, and they would bring the camera into the restaurant, and they would set it up on the table, and they would actually film through the window. And this is audience shot. This is I don't know. Again, I don't know if this is the complete show. But check this out right in the middle there. I Want You.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's from a distance, and the quality's not the greatest. But again, it's an audience shot show, and it's very rare Creatures footage. And I believe the first 2 tracks, or definitely the first track, are the what I had mentioned earlier about the semi-pro news station. They had a shoulder mount camera in the front row, and they filmed a song or 2 for the news clip. And so the first song or 2 are actually semi-pro shot from Montreal, and you can find those on YouTube as well. And this is actually about 6 months before the Brazil shows. So this is January, beginning of the year, 83, and then the Brazil shows are June. And then the other thing I want to show is actually, it's a set in its own right. This is the Creatures of the Night DVD set. It says 20th Anniversary Media Collection. So this is actually 2 discs. Again, I don't print the labels on the discs. There's just disc 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And there's 2 discs, and there's a bunch of stuff on here. There's a lot of international lip sync performances of like I Love It Loud and stuff like this with Ace, interestingly enough, in the Elder outfit that we saw in one of those postcards a little bit earlier from Mike. So there's a lot of Ace on this set. So you'll see, I think you see like Brazil TV, but there's like I think, I don't know, Germany, Italy, like there's a bunch of lip sync performances with Ace. So Ace is actually, I think you can actually see there's like top of the pops and stuff, top pop studios, lip sync. So there's a bunch of that stuff on here. There's also the famous Night Flight interview, which I believe is unedited on YouTube. There's a whole hour of it on YouTube. And that's with Vinny and Eric, although Vinny and Eric don't talk that much. They actually go through the whole history of the band. They talk about when they played at Coventry and stuff like this. So yeah, that's my whole Creatures DVD bootleg, whatever. So if you ever wanted to watch Creatures stuff, there's 5 DVDs here full of stuff just from the Creatures era. Interview. This is cool because this is interviews and lip sync performances. I don't think there's any actual live performances on here. There might be. A lot of quick
I still
clips.
like those lip sync performances, though. I mean, they're so interesting sometimes, and in a certain way.
One on the Kiss My Ass home video of I Love It Loud, and the credits roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably one of them.
Well, what's interesting too, from my recollection, is I think I haven't watched this set in a long time. I think I watched it a few years ago. But what's interesting is one of the performances that they do. There's Spanish TV, Italian TV, German TV. One of them, there's a lot of footage of them between takes, kind of just standing around and just kind of elbowing each other and kind of laughing and goofing around and stuff like this. So that's kind of fun to watch. What do you call it? Just like outtakes of them between, or like they start, but then it's a false start and then they cut.
Yeah.
So there's actually just like footage of them trying to do this performance like a few times. So there's cool stuff like that on here too. But
I
this
love
is
stuff like that.
Man, if Kiss put stuff like this out officially, they would sell so many copies of this. That's why I don't understand Paul's comments about like, oh, we don't know how to monetize the footage. All the people that are buying the Creatures box set probably would buy this.
You know what I think it is? They plan on doing it, but they don't want to talk about it yet, so they deflect.
I agree. That's what I agree. I think so. Gene's very, very savvy. And, 20 years ago, he was talking about what eventually became the Vault, the Gene Simmons Vault. He talked about that 20 years ago. There's interviews of him talking about, I've got, the number would change. I've got 500 songs or whatever, At one point,
if they say something's coming, then people will just hound them and hound them and hound them. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
He loves that stuff. Because he goes home and talks to Shannon Tweed. He goes, Shannon, in 5 years when I release this stuff, we're gonna buy a new garage. You can what you can put in that garage? You can put another car in that garage. And those are beautiful, Marco, by the way. I love the spine. Cool. Love the spines.
Thank you. Yeah, I if you watch the show that I did with Tim, like I have a set like this for every era of Kiss.
Yep.
We're color coded and everything.
I got to catch up on Tim's Vinyl Confessions.
You just go in my playlist, under my Kiss playlist. It's in there.
Okay. No, thank you, sir. Okay. So anybody else?
Just three little things. Three real quick. Uncle Meat intimated it. He mentioned it.
Okay.
He had no intention. He had no reason to think that it was going to bear fruit. Okay. But remember I said I was lamenting the fact they didn't have Creatures on 8-track?
Yeah.
I do have a Creatures-related 8-track.
Cuts like a knife. There it is.
So featuring Don't Leave Me Lonely, which is a great song.
It is.
Adam's Valence car, and it totally sounds like something that could have been from that era of Kiss. But a couple really cool books that if you're into this period of Kiss, this one is an amazing book.
Yes.
Kiss and Sell by
C.K. Lent.
C.K. Lent, who worked for Glickman Marx.
Awesome book.
So warts and all account of Kiss between 76 and 88. So it deals with all those turbulent times.
That's
right
like
up until
my favorite Kiss book.
Yeah.
It's not entirely complimentary, but man, is it detailed.
It's very detailed. It's there is let me see, there is a photo here. Yeah, here's some photos from Kiss on Brazil.
Yes. Yeah, he goes into a lot of detail
Yeah.
about the equipment. Again, I don't want to tell the story. It's in that book. It's in the book in the box set.
They had a hard time getting their equipment back because they played there in June, and I think in this book, I think it was like Labor Day weekend when they finally got all the equipment back to America. And the other book is this, Greg Prado, the Eric Carr story.
I don't have that one.
And we just just passed the 31st anniversary yesterday.
Yeah.
Of the passing of Eric Carr and Freddie Mercury. So this is a great book if you love Kiss in the 80s. This pretty much doubles as Kiss in the 80s.
He did a book called Take It Off too, right?
Yeah,
about
that's a good
Kiss
book
in
too.
the 80s. Have you?
That's strictly
that?
about Kiss in the 80s. This is strictly about Eric, and there is some crossover. That's a good book too.
Nice. May as well end on that note, on the Eric Carr note. What a monster sound on this album, the drum sound. Again, Michael James Jackson goes into a lot of detail of how they captured that sound. A lot of mics, a lot of experimentation.
Just real quick, Mike. It's the only album I've ever seen where they credit someone with drums and tuning.
Yeah.
They credit a guy named Shep Lonsdale with drums and tuning.
I believe he is interviewed. If I'm not mistaken, he's interviewed in this book, and they talk about Eric was very nervous when he came in there to play drums. Like, he was kind of edgy. But they were constantly supplying him with freshly tuned snares. Anytime they heard something go out of tune, somebody would have a fresh snare or whatever piece of the kit needed to be replaced. And he would just go, and they were like, he was a machine, He was nervous, but they gave him everything he needed to perform. And he's the star of the album. He's the star of the album.
Great sounding album.
After The Elder, they really needed to give him a proper introduction, and they did with Creatures. Yeah. And of course, the 85 mix that we've alluded to this whole time, they toned down that drum sound.
They toned down, and then the decay at the end of Creatures of the Night doesn't run as long.
There's a few minor differences like that. Yeah. I think ultimately only 3 tracks were completely remixed, and the rest of it was more remastered to take certain levels down.
Yeah.
I own both. I think that if you're a Creatures fan, you should own both. I listened to both yesterday, actually, just to kind of compare and contrast. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the original track listing where you get Saint and Sinner second, that's the right way to listen to it. Saint and Sinner is a second track. It just is. It's perfect. And contrary to what Meat said in his review, there's not a lot of bad songs in this. If I had to pick one song that I could delete if I had to, Danger, and that's it.
And Eric's drums on that are insane.
Yeah, they are. I mean, there's only 9 tracks on it, so there's not a lot of filler if there is any. But that would be my only deletion if I was to do anything to the album, which I wouldn't. So anyway, that's all I have to say about Creatures.
Yeah, it's too bad Ace wasn't on it, because it would have been cool to have an Ace vocal on that.
And thanks for mentioning that.
Would have been cool on there.
Yeah.
Thanks for mentioning that, Marco. In the liner notes, it is confirmed by just about everybody that Ace didn't play a note on this album. But I can distinctly remember interviews into the late 80s where they would say Ace played a little. Like, they were still trying to maintain that illusion that Ace had something to.
Any Kiss fan that knows anything knows how distinctive Ace's guitar playing is.
Yeah.
And it's not there.
No.
Well, that's why it's interesting to see all the lip sync performances with Ace, pantomiming along with I Love It Loud. And then even more interesting to, 20 years later, he did it on the farewell tour. He did I Love It Loud.
Yeah, he did. You're right. Yeah.
It would have been cool if they included a version of I Love It Loud from the farewell tour on there.
Yeah. That's probably going to be in one of the official bootlegs that's coming, Marco. Or it actually is. Isn't there an official bootleg from the farewell tour? I'm trying to remember.
Well, the 2001 from Tokyo. Yeah. That's the only one that I have. Actually, I really wanted to get that one because they do Talk to Me, and it's got Ace and Eric Singer.
Was that no, that wasn't the farewell tour. That's past the farewell tour.
Yeah, that's 2001. So that's
after they abandoned the concept of a farewell tour and decided to keep touring.
No, there is one from Donington '96. Is that?
That's reunion tour.
Ah,
and they did not play anything past. I believe I Was Made for Loving You. I think they played I Was Made for Loving You. I think
when I saw them in
They played
Montreal,
Psycho Circus,
in-
or was that
No,
that was
that's
Tokyo,
the next
I
tour.
think.
That's the next
when I
tour.
saw them, I've only seen them twice. I saw them in '96 in Montreal, and they did the newest song they did was New York Groove.
Oh, okay, interesting.
When I saw them in '98, other than the Psycho Circus, where they did 3 songs from Psycho Circus, they did "I Was Made for Loving You" then in '98.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hazy on what I saw when I saw them in '96 on the reunion tour, but
Because I was keeping track, I was curious to know what they would do.
Essentially, Harrison, what they were doing on the '96 reunion tour was they were trying to replicate the Love Gun era. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were or was it the Destroyer
It
costumes?
was the Love Gun. No, it was the Love Gun stage and the Love Gun costumes.
Yeah.
There you go. They were trying to replicate an era, and
there was a real thick line
there
at
was
that time between makeup and non-makeup. It was almost like they tried to treat it like those albums never existed, which for someone who was just getting into Kiss, I was like,
that was disappointing to me too.
Yeah. So
only after the Psycho Circus album did they start adding I Love It Loud, Heaven's on Fire, and I think Lick It Up.
Lick It Up, yeah.
Those are the only 3.
The Vancouver, the Millennium Show, yeah, it was those 3 songs.
And of course, now we get War Machine. They've played trying to think. I think they've played Tears Are Falling. Yeah.
Tommy and Eric, they've done all kinds of
stuff. Crazy Nights. And,
yeah. I think they've done Unholy and stuff like that. And if I'm not,
Unholy,
they were doing
to do his bit.
Yeah. Sorry, Marco, go ahead.
They were doing Hide Your Heart at the beginning of the End of the Road tour. And I was hoping they would do it when I saw them in Toronto, but they exchanged it with Calling Dr. Love, which I was a little disappointed because I wanted to hear Hide Your Heart.
Right. And I've heard Calling Dr. Love enough times by now.
You know what would have been funny if they'd have done Hide Your Heart when Ace was still in the band.
Yeah,
that would have been neat. You know, with hindsight, these are lost opportunities, and they'll probably like I know you guys recently did the fantasy, the Kiss final show fantasy track list, and I know in my heart it's going to be the same damn set list. You know?
Yeah, I'll tell you what the encore is right now.
Rock and roll night party every day.
Rock and roll,
God gave rock and roll to you. Rock and roll night.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but that's realistically. Anyway, I'm getting off track. I've had such a good time tonight that I don't want it to stop. But I do have to get some dinner. We have some Mary Brown's chicken, which I believe is an East Coast franchise, if I'm not mistaken, Tim.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Beautiful collection, Marco. I absolutely love it. Let's do one more just close up on your collection there. There we go. Lovely. And I love your style with the colored cases. Awesome stuff. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me this week. I believe there will be no show next week, as I believe I'm scheduled to do a taping with Grant's Rock Warehouse. We're scheduled to talk about a little band called The Darkness. So if all goes well, we will be doing that taping next week. And hopefully back in 2. Marco, we have plans to do a show focusing on vintage video games and that kind of thing.
Oh, I do. Like you talked about Atari earlier. I have a Atari 2600. Like literally, I could grab it. It's like in reach.
Well,
actually right here. That's the Amiga 500, the Amiga Mini.
Look at that. He's got the Atari Journey game.
Nice. I actually have an Amiga 500, but this is the Amiga Mini that came out. I ordered this from the UK. So that's you can actually plug it into HDMI and it comes loaded preloaded with games. If anybody's familiar with that stuff.
I think, well, we're going to hook you up with my good pal Robert Daniels when we do the video game show, but we might have to get Tim Durling on too, because I mean, we're Atari freaks, so maybe we'll have to just have a free for all with everybody.
I've got
Tim,
some
what do you
really
got coming
cool
up?
Computer games. Sorry.
Yeah. Tim, what do you got coming up on Vinyl Confessions this week?
Got another top 10 songs episode. As a matter of fact, it's just a few hours away.
All right, he's going to be dropping that
away. Well, if anybody follows me, they know what it's going to be.
Okay.
Yes, some more Contrarians appearances. The Kansas episode that we did just premiered. That was really cool. The Alice Cooper one's cool. We talked about Dada. What else we got coming up? Oh yeah,
were you on the Blue Oyster Cult one too, or
no?
All right.
No. But,
Harrison, what do you got coming up?
Whatever next time we're doing this, I guess.
No, I meant on your blog, on the Mad Metal Man blog. Nothing?
Nothing beyond. I'll get to Judas Priest sometime, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably
We
next
definitely want
year.
to see some good detailed images, if you can, of the Judas Priest box set. That's a fantastic set. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I always like to go out on a song. What would we like to hear tonight? You guys like Steve Earle? No? Okay. Well, I know what we'll do. We'll do some Fairies Wear Boots. We haven't played this one in a long time. Fairies Wear Boots by Heavy Cutting. This is with Uncle Meat on lead vocals. Thank you, gentlemen, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.